All right, here we are. Time for another banger from Hepidors on the Lizardmen up against their own RTK's Taurison. Let's check out these builds here. We've got for the Lizardman side, a Slann Mage Priest of Life. That green toad on his little pedestal. He's got a Blood Statute of Spite, Shield of the Old Ones, Banishment, and Earthblood, along with Life Bloom. For the rest, gonna have one of my favorites here, Colossadon Hunters. Very lightly armored, very much essentially almost a shock cab in a way. Like they're just a glass cannon. You gotta be very careful with those. And so that's why we got that Earthblood there. Definitely gonna be that main target for that spell. For the infantry, it's gonna be a bunch of skinks. It's gonna be mindlessly sent to be slaughtered. Some javelins in the back as well. More skinks all around with some skink skirmishers. And then for Cav, some spear riders on both flanks, 2 each. And then in the middle, it's going to be the Umbral Tide, the ROR Salamander Hundy Pack. They've got that snipe there, or stalk. So it can be very scary if you don't know they're there, if you don't expect them. For the Dark Elves, we have Crone Hellebrand. Now, she is going to be on that Manticore yet again. I say yet again because I've casted a replay before. Isn't on the channel, unfortunately. But I love to see it. She's got on that Manticore with Gaze of Cain and Witch Brew. Very excited to see her. She's so fun on that Manticore. We've got a spellcaster here. It's going to be of Beasts with just Flock of Doom. No surprise there. Infantry. She's going to be a whole bunch of Witch Elves. And we've got for the Cav some Cold One Knights. Of course, they're just extremely good nowadays. In fact, very crazy. Same with Cold One Spear Riders as well. So those two are going to be battling it out. And we got some Dark Riders as well. And some Dark Riders with repeater crossbows hiding in the forest at the moment. But all right. See how things go. It's going to be really nice keeping those repeater crossbows in the forest. Opponent won't expect them, and maybe they will. Maybe Hepidors knows how the way Taurus in play, so they're expecting those guys to be popping out at any moment. But all we know for sure is that the Witch Elves will be tearing apart those skinks. I mean, absolutely destroying them. These Witch Elves immediately getting those Witch Brews popped, going to be rampaging through those kinks very quickly. Cold and Spear Riders get a nice charge in there on the Witch Elves, but they're going to be very careful there as they're overextending too much. Cold One Knights are going to get their charge in, but we have some more Cold and Spear Riders going to be enveloping them, and so those Cold One Knights will be dying very soon as they're having to take on 2-on-1. Banishment going down. They're running through those Witch Elves, also hitting the Skink cohorts. But that was a sacrifice that the Slann was willing to make. These Spear Riders take an engagement with the other Spear Riders, trying to 2v1 them with the Dark Riders. But we have another Spear Rider here supporting them. Witch Brew popped, or rather the Gaze of Cain popped on those Cold One Knights, hitting both of them. Going to be turning that battle very quickly as the Spear Riders are taking a tremendous amount of damage. They are being bursted down, but the Colossadon Hunters do jump in there to support, help get rid of those Dark Riders very quickly, pop that Toad Rage, but hopefully that Toad Rage isn't going to be sending them to continue chasing after those Dark Riders, because they really need to stay and help out with those Cold One Knights, but I'm sure it will backfire a little bit there. Witch Knights, the Witch Elves break through that front line. They're going to start making their way at the Skink Skirmishers, but that's opportune time for the Skink Skirmishers to just fire upon them with their low armor. They do have physical resistance, however, which will be very nice and help out there. Speaking of damage, Crone Hellebrand is taking a tremendous amount of damage from the Skink Skirmishers and from the Umbral Tide, which she did not see there originally, and she's taking so much damage. She needs to get away before she breaks, but will she break? I mean, she's wavering. She might just break before. Yep, and she does. Oh no, the Dark Elves need to bring her back. She is so much balance of power, and she needs that leadership, so make sure to keep those the rest of these units on the field. Balance of power is looking to be massively in favor of the Lizardmen there. Crone Hellebrand is fortunately going to be coming back here, but she definitely needs to stay out of those Salamander's range. And just any of the Skink Skirmishers as well. The Colossadon Hunters are continuing to fight away at the Cold One Knights, and will eventually beat those guys back, but the some more Cold One Knights are coming over to support. Same over here as well. Once they collapse, once they run through those Skink Skirmishers, they need to envelop and completely shut down those Colossal Hunters, because Colossal Hunters do not like being charged, and the Cold War Knights will not, the Cold War Spear Riders will not be getting the charge on these Cold War Knights. If so, it's a very, very detrimental fight here, or rather, a very important fight here for the Dark Elves. If they can shut down those Colossal Hunters, which do get that Toad Rage, then it could turn things around here for the Dark Elves. But they really have not much infantry left. 2 Witch Elves, which are badly beaten, but same for the Lizardmen. We have some skinks in the back line. These, which are chasing Dark Riders, which is very, very valuable for them. They need to be, those Dark Riders need to come around and support the rest of these engagements, and not be chased out by cheap infantry. Witch Elves take a banishment there. It doesn't do a whole lot of damage, but it is just enough to possibly end up routing them here soon with a little bit more fire from skinks. Cold War Knights, Cold War Spear Riders, excuse me, get a nice charge there, and the Witch Elves going to be routing those guys. Things from that burst damage, and might even catch out the Sorceress of Beasts here. We'll see. Some more Cold One Spear Riders can support. Skink Skirmishers can shoot as well. They have plenty of ammunition left, practically full HP. Dark Riders can start making their way over and possibly get some good shooting in either on the Slann or maybe even on the Umbral Tide or the Spear Riders. That definitely needed over here for sure. I'm not sure what's going on here with this Dark Rider shooting at skinks. Definitely a waste of ammunition for sure, especially considering the Colossal Hunters are back and will be getting some heals, and the Cold War Knights are in need of support. They are outside of the range of all the other Dark Elf units. If these guys get shut down, it's going to be very, very bad here. But the Colossal Hunters, though they get Toad Rage, they will not be able to finish off the Spear Riders, but with support from the other Lizardmen infantry, if they were to catch out those Cold War Knights, that's very, very bad for the Dark Elves. Going to speed things up here as the Cold One Spear Riders wipe up the rest of the Dark Elf left-hand side. And it's looking to be the Lizardmen's game here, as I do not think the repeater crossbows will be able to scrap this back enough, especially not Cornhelibron with what its HP are at, 921 HP. Yeah, I think the Lizardmen have this in the bag. I could be wrong, but we do get another Flock of Doom here on the Skink Skirmishers and on the Spear Riders. Going to be shutting those guys down. But just look at the forces that the Lizardmen have left here. Look at the balance of power. Look at the favor it has for the Lizardmen, and I am very much inclined to agree. It is very much possible that Cornhelibron terror routes things here, but I do not think that they have the win. I think it's very much a stretch here. Repeater crossbows can't fire whilst moving, so they constantly have to cycle back and forth, and yep, there goes the army losses kicking in there. That goes to the Lizardmen. Very scrappy game there, but I think there were 1 or 2 engagements there that really just directed the game there and pretty much solidified it early on, and I believe that had to do with 1, how much damage Cornhelibron took from those Skink Skirmishers and from the Aurora Salamander hunting pack, and then 2, when the Colossal Hunters were able to shut down one of the Cold One Knights and get away, still able to come back later on. If they were able to be shut down completely and not able to come back, I would think that the Dark Elves even maybe had a chance there. But once the Colossal Hunter, letting the Colossal Hunters come back eventually is very, very bad, especially considering how much damage they dealt. And then 2, Cornhelibron, with her so badly beaten up, she was not able to commit herself to any battles. So keeping her in range of those ranged units for so long just pretty much was one of the, it wasn't the final nail, but it was the first nail into the coffin there. So, pretty much put him into the grave. And then the Colossal Hunters being able to get away and then still come back after how much damage they dealt, that's the second nail in the coffin, I think. Though one could also argue that the left hand flank, letting your Cold One Knights get surrounded like that by 2 Cold One Spear Riders, it could be arguably one of that final nail. But no, I would say no to that, because you still had 3 other Cold One Knights that had more importance on the battlefield. So losing 1 to 2 is fine. The other 3 they need to make up for it. And the same with the range units of the Dark Elves. The repeater crossbows, they needed to be up assisting sooner. They could have been assisting on that left flank, shooting at the spear riders that were enveloping your Cold War Knights. They could have been in the main engagement, maybe possibly shooting at the Slann, or maybe obviously you want to keep them out of the range of the R-War Salamanders, but maybe just assisting the other engagements around the battlefield, keeping them away from those Salamander empty backs. Maybe shooting at the Clausen Hunters. Maybe shooting at the other Spear Riders, which are fighting your Cold War Knights on the right-hand flank. All I know is that the Cold War Knights, they did not receive the support they needed, unfortunately. But I think one of the main parts just had to do with how much the Hellebronite queen there took, how much damage she took. It was, she was just really, really needed there. And I think everything else was supplementary to the defeat of the Dark Elves. Obviously, others may have their own conclusions, but that's just how I viewed the battlefield, or how I viewed the game. But let's go over the details here, the nitty gritty. We got 617 on the Slann. Of course, they are just a green toad there to heal up everything else and throw occasionally some bound spells down. Not expecting too much value from them. 1076 here, and they Spear Riders 1052 and 1098 overall. Just the Cav game was a little better on the Hepidor's side. Did amazingly well with those guys. They did really, really good. Solid engagements against the Cold War Knights, and really some solid support overall from the Green Toad. Well played to Hepidors. But we got 1639 here as well on the Salamander pack. That's another reason why they're just so good. Sure, you may know that they're now there after it did some damage with a few volleys, but now they're hidden, and now you just spend resources to try to find them again, to shut them down, or to try to be wary of where you think they might be now that they're hidden once again. Obviously, once you break to their front line and make it to their back line, now you're able to be within range to spot them, so it's not that bad for whenever you have such a deadly infantry that can just break to the front line quickly. But still, nonetheless, obviously those elves can be stopped by other things. So it's just very scary to have those on the field at times. Salamander backs are very inaccurate a lot of the times, but when they do hit, they can do quite a bit of damage against a lot of burst damage very quickly when it's against a unit that doesn't have an astronomical amount of armor. I think maybe 60 to 80 armor on the Manticore Helibron. I could be wrong there, but I think that's so. But yeah, they're really good there if they can hit their shots. And 910 for the Clausen Hunters. Good unit. Just need some support and healing because they're that glass cannon. As I said, they can die very, very quickly if they take the wrong charge. They do not like taking charges, just like Razordons. 267 here on Hellebron. Unfortunately, she had some... I don't keep calling her Hellebron, but she's the Hellebron Queen. She had a tough time, unfortunately. 950. It was sad because I wanted to see her do good on that Manticore, but it is what it is. Just a very cool Lord and Mount altogether. Wish I could show you guys. Might show it on the replay. The one I casted from Captain Tellus with Hellebron on her Manticore. I was so excited to see that. I could not explain how excited I was to see that. So maybe I'll stream it with some other replays. I missed out on it. Anyways, matters not. We're talking about this replay. She's just a very cool thematic lord, and which elves were also very cool mixed in with her, and they did great. They slaughtered skinks like no business. No skinks were harmed in the making of this video. But yeah, very cool. I mean, look how many freaking kills they got. 202, 185. Those skinks had no way of fighting back. It was like taking candy from a freaking baby, except you brutally nothing to that baby. Yeah. 1205. We're not going to talk about what happened. 1205 there on the Dark Rider. Wow, that is incredible. I don't know what they were doing. Um, did they get on the Salamander at the back? I imagine maybe so, or maybe they just assisted with the Cold One Spear Riders. I don't know. I had to check that. Check that in the game later. But 1280 here, 1721, and 981. Cold Knights still did great despite the Lizardmen just having the upper advantage there on them. They still are just such a fantastic unit. So, I mean, as you can see, 1721, almost 2,000 value on this one. Just did so good. But again, I think they just didn't have the support that the Lizardman side had. 480 and 608 here in the repeater crossbows. Yeah, definitely needed them to see them much earlier on, supporting those spear riders, or rather, those Cold One Knights, and just shooting at targets that those Cold One Knights are engaged with, or were possibly going to engage with. But yeah, solid game there. 950 on the caster. I forgot about that. Yeah, good Flock of Dooms. But yeah, thanks to Hepadors and Torsen for the game. I'll catch you guys next time with another one. Bye-bye.